you. Thank you. Thank you. So wonderful to be here. So I thought we might start this session with a meditation. It'd be nice to dive into some rich, quiet stillness and discover perhaps our authentic nature even more clearly. So you can follow along if you want to. And you can do this with your eyes open or closed. You can simply allow whatever wants to happen there. And just beginning, if you want to, by taking a few nice deep breaths. So just inhaling and exhaling. And just really checking in that you're here. I mean, your body's here, but are you here? Are you here in this beautiful sanctuary? Are you here completely with us? Or are you somewhere in the past or in the future? Can we just center ourselves with a little conscious breathing? So we're going to just spend some time listening. As simple as that sounds, listening is actually being your real nature, your infinite self. It is just listening to all of manifestation. So we'll start by just simply listening to whatever sound you can hear. We'll take a few moments just to notice all the different sounds you can hear subtly in your environment. As you're listening, try to listen as if you're about to hear something that is the most important thing you're going to ever hear. And that it's going to be said by someone who's whispering. So you're really listening, really listening. And you might notice many sounds that you can hear. And we're just listening as if the most important thing is about to be said. Sometimes you may find that you're listening to thoughts. Sometimes to the wind of sounds around you. Sensations in your body. Or nothing at all. Just really present and listening. What can you hear? And if you get lost in thoughts, just coming back to simply listening. Just listening openly, taking in everything that you can hear. And now, just listening to the listening. What does it sound like when you listen? Listening to the listening. What does listening sound like? Noticing that part of you that is always silently listening. And if you find again that you're lost listening to thoughts, just coming back to the listening itself. Notice how your body feels when you listen to the listening. There isn't someone listening. There's only listening itself. The listening is who you really are before form, before time, before change. Just here, just listening. Coming back to the simplicity of the listening itself. Noticing that when we pay attention to the listening itself, all the sounds inside, outside, are just heard. They just pass right through. Where is the listening happening? A deep, profound silence that is self-aware. silence, listening to itself. Every sound that we hear, even the sound of thoughts, can delightfully point us back to the listening. And all of this is to help us see we are the listening. Whenever you feel ready, if you want to, you can open your eyes. Take a nice deep breath. Remembering at any moment we can come back to our real nature. We can come back and be this listening. And listening itself is unaffected, unchanged, unmoved by anything it listens to. It hears everything equally. And its very nature is silent. Anything that we find arising out of that listening, thoughts, words, bodies, planets, are also utterly silent. I really hope that you had a taster there of the simplicity of our natural state of being. Instead of focusing on what is seen, we focus on the seeing. Instead of focusing on what is heard, we focus on the listening. Instead of focusing on what is tasted, we focus on the taster. So I wanted to start with that because sometimes it's just nice to dive in and slow down and consciously be what we already are, what we spend a great deal of time and energy trying to get to. Is what we already are. I'm laughing now, but it wasn't at all funny for me. Only afterwards is it funny. So we've got some time if anyone would like to ask any questions or share your experience of the meditation. Or if you're having a challenge with something, feel free to just speak up or unmute or raise your hand, whichever. Let's see what's on our minds. Leonie?
Oh gosh, I didn't realize I was the first one. Oh, just want to say thank you, Helen. That was beautiful. And at first, like, mind was like, what are you on about? Like, the listener, like, how can I listen to the listener? And then if that was all right, I kind of changed the word. I was just like, it's just like the spaciousness. It's just like any of these other words that you have been practicing. Like, it's just the same. So yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, Helen. That was beautiful.
Oh, wonderful. Good to hear from you. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else like to share something? Or ask a question? Everyone's too busy listening, huh? Shauna, yeah. Wonderful.
I just loved that listening to the listening. And one of the experiences was, it was so easy to go from, you'd mentioned, are you back lost in thought and half thought? It's so easy to come down into the listening again. And it became pure listening a few times. And at one point, a motorcycle went by and I heard it like I'd never heard it before.
Yeah.
The mind came in and wanted to give the definitions, but the actual listening, I'd never heard it before. So thank you so much. It was beautiful.
It's wonderful. You know, we're always listening with the assumption that I'm here listening to that thing out there. And there are moments when that drops away and you don't know whether you are here or the motorcycle, right? And it's just heard in a very different way, very real and soothing and intense. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else like to share? Danette?
Hi, Helen.
Hi.
And everyone. That was amazing. And I too, like Shauna, heard something and I thought, oh, that's been doing it the whole time. My computer's coming over here. And it was like I was over here watching my body look over at it. So my body was looking, my eyes were looking at it, and I was also watching me look at it. And in the past, I would have said, oh, you're following thought, or you're following this. And I instead did oh, there's a noise. Then you watched it, you looked at it, and now you haven't gone anywhere. You're still here. And so that was very cool. And I don't know which YouTube I watched, but I've been walking around in space for 2 or 3 days, noticing this space instead of the objects. And they're happening. The objects are still there and they're happening. So that's been a new experience for me. And I'm going to court next week for my dad's probate. And I know I have to speak to the judge, and it's a little contentious, and I'm wanting to not disassociate while I'm there, but I'm going to actually do it. It's triggering some reaction in me, but I'm just watching the reaction and noticing it, and then doing the dishes, you know.
Yep.
But I am going to kind of practice. I'm kind of like going to use it as an experiment of, can I be present in court and listen?
Yeah.
And any of the triggers come up are okay. I don't have to fix them, and I don't wish I was better, which is what I've been wanting to do. So I'm going to kind of do it as a little bit of an experiment of.
It's really good. It's you're listening to the words spoken by somebody else out there, and then you're also just kind of listening to that comes up inside, you know, when something gets triggered. It's just listening to it, and from there it's very, very different. So and it begins to change everything around you, everyone around you, because you're not doing this push-pull thing, you're just here listening. It's excited to hear what happens.
Yeah, I'm seeing the glimpses and I'm enjoying them. So thank you for teaching.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for sharing. Beautiful. Thank you. Kathy?
Hi, Helen.
Hi.
Thank you for that. Was absolutely wonderful. I also had the experience of outside noise just a minute or so after we started it's a Tuesday, first Wednesday of the month, our tornado sirens do their their trials. And so for at least 5 or 6 minutes, I had a huge tornado siren going off in the background, which would normally disturb me and get me off of wherever I was. But I really was letting it just be the tornado siren in the background. But what I put my hand up for is I'm having some physical stuff. I ended up in the hospital over the weekend, and I had recently listened to not all of, but part of your talk about nothing causes anything or nothing, you know, and having that fresh in my mind really helped, because there were things related to what happened to me that I could very easily say, oh, well, I did that, or I didn't do that, and now this is happening. And if you could talk a little bit more about that, I would appreciate it.
It's it's not an easy thing to understand with the mind, is it? But our mind is always looking for causes for things, and when something happens to the body or something in our life, our mind is immediately looking for what did I do, as you said, or what didn't I do? What did I do incorrectly, or something like that caused this? But our body's always giving us feedback about what's going on between our ears and what we're really sort of buying into that isn't true. So there could be something arising with just no cause at all for it. There doesn't have to be a cause for what we see. And when we begin to recognize that, life gets a lot easier, a lot simpler, because a lot of the mind's frantic activity is trying to figure out the right thing to do to cause the right things to happen. Because you kind of get a little taste of that isn't the way it really is. I mean, I don't know how much of that you could experience when your body was struggling, but hopefully you got a little, even to go through it from listening to that and taking it in a little bit might have changed the experience. Not quite as able
really
to
did.
resist it. Yeah.
Yeah, it really did, because in the past, I would have found all sorts of the reasons why what I did or didn't do put me in that position. And the doctor even had said to me, well, I'm not here to beat you up. And I said, well, you don't need to. I do a good enough job of that all by myself. And it was helpful for him to say that too. He was not blaming me for, you know, things that could have been different. But having just before all of this happened, that was when I had listened to that or watched that lecture, and it really did make a difference. I didn't have to blame myself again for whatever, and I actually could take in, okay, there isn't a cause, nothing causes, it just happened, and I wouldn't have had that before.
Wonderful. And then these things are just ways that I am showing up as the infinite self. There's a healthy body, there's a sick body, there's some fear, there's some joy, there's peace, or there's rain clouds. Or, you know, it's just, here I am this way and this way and this way and this way. And there's not this frantic trying to figure out why everything is happening then and looking for some separate being, imagining ourselves to be someone that's got to sort it all out. And that's the kindest place to hang out from the body's perspective. It can really work to heal itself without a lot of energy being wasted trying to figure out how to do that. How do I change this, or what do I do, you know, from there? It makes a difference in everything.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you for sharing.
So appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Wonderful. Okay. Would anyone else like to share anything? Alexandra, yep.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Helen.
Hi.
I want to share about the meditation. It's the feeling that I'm still there. So all these words that comes here, and it's the sensation that I don't know what is about. I don't understand, but I know already what is talking. It's like I'm still there. when you said listen, the listener came up, see the seer. So in that moment, boom, it's the blackness wasn't black anymore, and nothing moved. Nothing comes, nothing goes, nothing moved, and now the words are coming. I'm here, I'm moving, but I'm still there.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Thank you.
It's beautiful,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's just so simple and natural. And even all the moving and changing, the words, the bodies, all of that is just kind of just happening, and it doesn't have the same impact. It's just changing and moving is changing and moving, and you're just here. And it's a very different way to experience life, isn't it?
But this the seer that I'm here and I see what's happening. I had this experience, but now it's happening here.
Yeah.
It's so intimate. There's not this distance that I'm listening, I'm seeing. It's all here. Yeah, I don't know where, but it's here. Thank you.
Beautiful. Enjoy. And just knowing that it's not a big deal to just slip back into this. You just kind of notice when you've gone back to listening to thoughts about a separate someone, and just coming back to the listening itself, and just kind of changing gears or shifting into neutral, something like that. Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing.
A question came in the mind when I'm not here. So it's so obvious. I'm always.
Yeah. And the mind then, when the mind asks these things, it's delicious, right? Like, well, I'm always here. It's lovely.
So obvious. Why I doubted? Yes.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful. Anyone else like to share something? Danette, excuse me.
If somebody else is in line, I will defer. But
That's okay.
something came up. I've been wanting to ask you about this for a while, and I've been practicing contemplation and resting in it but when you said it was a writer downer for me, that the mind thinks it has to sort it all out. Like, I feel like laughing and crying because I feel like that defines my whole existence.
Oh, I remember that. I remember that very well. Yeah.
I just think, oh my gosh. And I feel like I'm totally going to tell on myself right now. I feel like I'm a little bit fake or something. I think I need to make this. I'm just going to just say it, not edit.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like I need to make some decisions. I need to find a place to live. I need to have a job. They're connected. I have to move. I have to have income, or I think I do. And yet I'm going through all these transitions of, I don't want to do some of the work that I've always done. I really don't feel like I want to do much of anything except for help people not suffer.
Mm-hmm.
And so my mind feels like I have to sort it out. I feel like the stuff is bubbling up. I feel like my mind wants to sort it all out, make a plan. And I also am at peace and trust and let it unfold. And then some days I'm like, but are you just pretending to hang out? Or is that real? No, sometimes it feels really real. Sometimes I think, are you just putting it off and waiting for something to happen? And if it doesn't, they're going to pick up the reins and go. And so there's some money, and I know you've talked about it. So I was kind of like, what pointing or guidance? And some of it is like, what do I do now? And some of it is wrapped in that money, finance, abundance, scarcity stuff. And so I don't know how to articulate it, but I think you can.
I'll have a go.
Okay.
Let me know if I'm not hitting the target, so to speak. Money, abundance, or lack thereof, seeming lack. That was, you should probably know, a huge area for me where I seem to have a lot to do to sort out. And there'll always be a good reason from the mind why we have to think that we're doing and plan and all of that stuff. But as you said, just kind of hanging out in your authentic self as your authentic self. And so just watching it unfold, watching the manifestation unfold, whatever needs to happen. And also at the same time, there can be this planning going on in the mind. And there was a period for me where my mind would, when it really looked like I was about to run out of money, I mean, not like almost, but actually really run out of money. My mind would be, 50,000 strategies as how to not run out of money, usually around 2 or 3 a.m. And but there was this deepening surrender, I guess is the best word, to just none of those strategies have ever really worked anyway. And when things started to resolve, it never happened the way that any of these strategies had actually planned. It was like, whatever my mind could come up with anyway, this is what I'm going to do. And this is definitely what I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this. And you could absolutely be certain that whatever way life was going to unfold to bring me what I needed, it would not be what was the way that was being forecast through the mind. So just seeing that just helped me to detach from it a little. Some days it was like, this is just all going to unfold. It's going to be fine. There's nothing to worry about. I'm just going to enjoy the ride, and watch it unfold. Other days I really got to sort this out. I'm so sick of this. When am I gonna, and on and on it went. And seeing that the mind didn't really have a clue, through no fault of its own, what was actually going on. It's like looking through this tiny little thing here, and we can't see everything else that's going on in the entire universe, just this tiny little perspective from one set of eyes looking and ears listening. And so I don't know if that helps. It was just like watching and realizing that despite my best strategizing, life has been able to look after me anyway, never actually run out, and never, when a decision had to be made, it somehow was made. And I still don't really know how, just some kind of thought would pop up, this is what I'm going to do. It wasn't a thought through process got to the end and then, right, now weighed up all my options. It was just a load of useless thinking and stressing. And then one thought at the end that said, do this. And I can't claim ownership of that thought any more than any other. So
Yeah.
Can you feel some kind of
I feel like all this
realization?
efforting and working out and
Yeah.
planning at 2 a.m. or 2 p.m. or whatever. And
Oh,
then
both, yeah.
yeah, both. And then also just letting it unfold. And if I look at my life in reflection, all the things that popped up arose without me, including the thoughts at 2 a.m. Like, they just all were coming up, and it's like, I could have just let them all come up like bubbles in a soda can or whatever. And then
That's so good.
Yeah, just like that fizzy stuff. I could have just let them all come up. And then the one that, without knowing is a step. And and I'm laughing at myself because in July, when I was introduced to non-duality, it was I think this is from you, when you're all out of options, then you have to look at something else, don't you? And I'm like, oh my God, that's such a no-brainer. And I was kind of out of options of all the things. Why am I here? What is this? This is a big joke. This is a weird lie. I don't know, what's the point? Blah, blah, blah. And I was going to be homeless or houseless or whatever they call it. Like I had to go somewhere, and I sold almost everything that I own, which is feeling so good and unattached. So there were a lot of good things coming, but I had no idea. And I was like, I've got my tent, my backpack, and it was just so bizarre. I mean, it's just not my previous life at all. And then I got this invitation to come live in this beautiful house and have this job. And that was none of the bubbles. I mean, it was the last one that came up, and it just unfolded beautifully. And now it's ending. And so if I could just allow all the bubbles I might
So-
go buy some sparkling water and just put it in a
Yeah,
glass.
I'm
and get it.
inspired now to find something fizzy. It
Yeah.
was like that for me. It was a realization of all I can do is trust that flow, and all the mind can do is mistrust it. Right? It might always be trying to figure it out, but I'm less and less affected by that, and eventually realize I've never been affected by it because, as you said, at some point there's a knowing that arises. This is what I'm going to do, or this is what's going to happen, and it feels different. That knowing, that decision, just arises spontaneously like another bubble, and none of that previous energy spent thinking has actually got anywhere near causing that decision to arise. So there's just less and less reliance upon the mind. There's nothing wrong with thinking at all. It's just not really so helpful for you, the infinite self, anymore. It's just,
Yeah.
some part of me is trusting deeper that I'm always going to be looked after, and the other part of me, my mind, is just maybe always going to freak out. But it's quieter and quieter and quieter and further away. It's just a little whisper. Then, what are we going to do? I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's see. It becomes quite funny then.
Yeah, the volume was so high. And then as I surrendered, which is what you said, I had no point. I mean, I had nothing else to do but surrender. Like it was the end, like surrender's all the options that I had, and the volume just
Nothing
went.
else has worked. You're backed into a corner, and life is happy to give us those corners to back
Corners.
into if we need some help surrendering.
It was beautiful, and I'm so appreciative that it happened. I mean, it was painful, but that was the path I got to experience where I'm at now. So, and I'm so grateful for your teaching.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. That was really good. So helpful.
Thank you. Wonderful. We've got time for one more if anybody would like to share something. But I remember this imaginary myth that my on my own journey, this idea that I would be able to at some point I'd be able to surrender, and I would be able to trust the flow of life and allowing abundance. And to my surprise, it just worked completely backwards to that. It was like eventually something must have softened a little inside, because abundance started to come in. And I'm not talking like a lot of money. I'm just talking enough to pay the bills. That was abundance to me. And just not having to worry about running out. And even after abundance had been coming in for quite some time, like I'm talking like 2 years here, my mind was still didn't trust it. Still, it was still doing the sky's gonna fall, thing that it does. And it was actually very, very helpful to realize trust is something that the mind, a separate self, cannot do. It just literally, it's not that it won't, it just literally cannot, because it can't see the big picture. And it was so relaxing to figure that out, right? To see that clearly. We've all been, when here we were talking about money, we've all been in situations where it looks like the sky is going to fall in, and we wish we could just relax and surrender to it and watch it unfold. But if we can understand that trust comes after the event, sometimes after we've been looked after by life, by the infinite self, because I spent a lot of time judging myself for the fact I couldn't let go. Even when abundance was coming in, my mind's still, yeah, but it might not last, it might go away. So got a few more minutes left. Ruxandra.
Yeah, I wanted to ask a question about what you said earlier. Why happened that we have this moment? I think every one of us had those moments, that absolute surrender in front of very, very difficult situation, that you are so desperate that You take yourself out of the equation and say, God, do it because I don't know. And you see that it's working wonderfully. And after, again, you don't trust and you want to control everything and you forget what a gift was now, trust, the flow, universe, God. And even if mentally, because I said life can't get wrong. So God never make mistakes. So whatever is happening, it's exactly what has to happen. Can't be a mistake. And still, and even I had very extreme surrender in that situation. So was so big that it was impossible not be aware and realize the effect that had in your life. And still, you forget little by little, you turn back. Why happened that?
It's because it's trying to show us that which we are trying to make surrender is not really who we are. There's something already about us that is completely surrendered, we could say. The silence, the listening, the awareness, the consciousness. But we put so much time and effort into trying to make the separate sense of self, which is just a bunch of thoughts interconnected, and the associated emotions. We try to make that surrender, and it will surrender temporarily because it runs out of options. Like we were saying, it's tried everything. It's dealt all its cards and it's still coming up with nothing. But then after a little while, it will put itself back together again. It has to, because it's a movement. It's an energy. It's trying to move towards something. So you see that happen time and time again. I'm surrendered. Oh no, wait, I'm not. Yes, I am. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. On and on it goes. But that's just all happening inside you, the infinite self. And it is less and less important what this thought self is doing then. It can just do its own thing. When we're not trying to force it to let go, it just kind of dissolves by itself from watching from the real place.
Yeah, this is, for me now, it's clear that let go means let be. So in the moment that you accept what it is, you surrender.
Yeah,
so
I don't have to make that let go. I can't make that let go. I am infinite formless intangibility. How can I do anything? In the recognition of that, it just this ball of stress just kind of lets go anyway.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you everyone for your beautiful sharings. We're right up on time. Just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'll hand it back to you, Shauna. Thank you.